We are live. Look at that hiccup right there out the gate. You go away for a week, you have a hiccup right out the gate. But we are live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino. God, it's good to be back, y'all. It is good to be back. We do got a lot to talk about. SEC Media Days, Ed Orgeron and LSU Shine. We're back, and we're ready to go. So we do have a lot to get into tonight. Going to talk a lot of LSU football. Guys, we're right here. August the 6th, we'll be here before you know it, and that is the start of LSU football camp. So really looking forward to that. Going to talk a lot about Ed Orgeron. Going to talk some Austin Decklis, Derek Stingley. What are some key takeaways? If you missed it today, we'll talk a lot about that. Also, as we've incorporated, this is the third week of Roody Poo of the week. So at the end of the show, put in your bids for Roody Poo of the week. Also, Greg Sankey, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey, talks about something big, something very, very big about the SEC and related to COVID. We will touch on that as well. But before we get started, guys, we got to get back to the comments. I've missed each and every one of you. We had a good vacation, very chilled, relaxed, and all cool and shooting some b-ball outside of school. But it is good to be back and to see all you guys. Ryan Guidry says, let's go. Blaine Smith says, fill me in on what O had to say at Media Day. That we will do. Joseph says, let's go. So does Bob, Shannon, Mark, and Stefan. Craig Schilling says, and we are live. So, guys, it really is good to be back. It's going to be interesting to see what LSU, the takeaways from LSU. Had a lot of people. Look, there are some things that I've said over the last couple months we'll touch on. A lot of people are now saying I wasn't crazy. You have this feeling too. But let's pay some bills around this thing, and none better than our good friends over at GM Varno & Sons and BetOnline, and we'll get this thing going. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire rotations, tire sales. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. With over 63 years of experience, I know that GM will do a great job in service for you today. Go see them at 2500 Florida Boulevard in Denham Springs, Louisiana. You break down the side of the road, they will come and assist you with all of your needs. And our good friends over at betonline.ag. Guys, I've been telling you about BetOnline, and now that it's here, get your bets in right now. NBA Finals Game 6 is tomorrow. Also, you have a lot of bets that BetOnline is pushing out. Where do you think that Damian Lillard's going? Get all of your SEC picks. Get all of your picks. Who's going to be the NFL MVP? Who's going to win a national title? You can do all of that over at betonline.ag. Do it now before it's too late. Again, that's betonline.ag. betonline.ag. All right, let's get this thing rolling. Guys, I might scroll through a lot of the comments because it's just been I miss you guys. I will tell you, when the beat dropped tonight, I kind of got some chills. But let's start off here. Blaine Smith says Jalen Sheed gone because, quote-unquote, homesick, shaking my head. Yeah, there were some reports, what I've been told, some false reports about Jalen Sheed, about Nolan, the recruit that LSU was trying to get. Look, he worked out for a day. He went home. We saw that a couple times. And, guys, the truth is, I know a lot of people are saying this about LSU in general, that this is an LSU problem. Guys, there's only been two players that have done that. Jalen Sheed is one of them. But there has been some individuals that have gotten to college and gotten into a workout and said, look, this ain't for me, dog. This SEC running stadiums is not for me. But that separates. You know, there's an interesting thing that we always talk about with parents and their kids. Parents always say, my kid can play at LSU. Ting! My son can play quarterback, wide receiver, running back, defensive back, linebacker, defensive end at the University of Louisiana State. That's how they talk. But the truth is, guys, playing in the SEC, playing college football is not for the weak. It's not for the weak-minded. That's for damn sure. But we do really wish Jalen Sheed good luck. I mean, he was only a Tiger for a day. But the sucky thing about that is, and I wonder if LSU can find a way to maybe put in a bid with the SEC saying a kid only came here once. They're going to have to fix this, man. If you're going to give here's one thing about the SEC and the transfer portal and all these other things that kind of drive me nuts. If you're going to give leniency to the player, you better give leniency to the university. If a kid just shows up for a day in summer and then doesn't go out through a season, why are we counting that it was one of the 25 spots? LSU should be able to go and sign another kid in the transfer portal if they wanted to. That's just my take. That's just my thoughts on that. But Jalen Sheed is back. Tim Gray says, it's been a minute, but I'm back. It's good to see you, Tim. It's good to see you. As you can see, one of my fellow classmates is I'm wearing the Franklinton. Let me take the comment down. The Franklinton baseball, the good T as Coach T and Clay Tajon. Gave me some good merch. So if you're a high school coach, no merch is going to be clean with this. I'm just going to let you know right now. Coach Tajon over at Franklinton helping a brother out. Good, great coach, the GOAT. Coach Jeff Tajon with the merch. I do got to say this. One of me and Tim's classmates and a guy that I played football with, Ruben Anthony, tragically passed away this past week. To all the Anthony family, we were thinking about you and praying for you guys, and I hate seeing that. Bear Granger, Country Granger says, I smooth miss Coach O and today. Well, let's talk about that. Let's start there. Look, I was really, really, really impressed by Ed Orgeron today. I was also extremely impressed by Austin Deculus. You know, Derek Stingley Jr. is a guy that, look, let's call it what it is. He is a leader by his actions on the field. He is not necessarily a leader that's going to get vocal. Now, he will at times from what I hear. But he's not a vocal leader. He's a guy who's going to get the interceptions. He's going to do it by his play. Austin Deculus was pretty impressive today and gave us look, we've been talking about this for months. And something that I've been trying to say about this offensive line for months. Everybody from a national perspective or from the South's perspective asked Ed Orgeron, asked Austin Deculus the same question. Hey, look, you guys have a lot of experience. Now that I'm watching film, I think that this O-line is going to be pretty decent. You guys have a lot of cohesiveness. Interesting that was said today at SEC Media Days. Who's been saying that? The O-line stinks. The O-line doesn't stink for LSU. I think Ed put his perfect spin on it about what to believe this season kind of trends like. Well, I said it has a 2019 feel to it. He says 2018, but I don't think that he's wrong with that. There are a lot of unknowns. But I do think that Ed knows more about what he did in this season than he did in 2018. You do have two good quarterbacks. Excuse me. You do have two good quarterbacks that you can play. I've been bad on Miles. I've said that I want Max Johnson, and I understand that. But let's not act like Miles can't go out there and rip that thing, because he can. Max Johnson is going to be your guy. People, Matt Trent, who we've had on the show, WBRZ, try to pull it out of Austin Deculus. He said, look, we both of them are great leaders, but Max is separating himself from the locker room. That's not a question anymore. When we talked about this QB battle, we talk about a battle. Ed kind of confirmed today who his quarterback's going to be, and not so many words, being Max Johnson. One thing that I was really Ed clarified again today is something that we mentioned about 2 or 3 weeks ago about the safeties at LSU. He talked about Major Burns, a guy from Louisiana, a guy that committed to Georgia, now back at LSU and is immediately eligible. Mike Jones. Who Mike Jones? Guys, you have a lot of depth at LSU, and I would expect some guys to transfer. Todd Harris, you're a fifth-year senior. You better get moving. Major Burns is here. Derek Davis, the kid from Pennsylvania, the recruit, a midterm graduate. Mason Smith is another guy that Ed talked about today. A lot of these younger guys are making big-time strides and big-time leaps. It does have that 2018 and 19 feel when you have guys like Jamar Chase, Terrace Marshall that are coming in and giving you good minutes. You might see some freshmen that come out here and do some big things. Major Burns and Jay Ward are going to be your starting safeties, something we've mentioned over the last month. Jay Ward, and it kind of clarifies to what we've been saying about what Durante Jones wants to do. If you can't cover, you will not play. Let me repeat that. If you can't cover, you will not play in this defense. period, point blank. Interesting to hear Ed. And you kind of got a little bit. You see, Ed, Mike Detillier says this all the time. And something I fully agree with him on. If you listen to what Ed Orgeron says, he peels the onion back for you. He pulls back the curtain. He doesn't give you the whole audition, but he's going to give you the what do they call those in the movie? The trailer. He's going to give you the trailer. And a lot of times that's going to give you a better look, and even more than a trailer. Damn near reads a whole chapter for you if you listen to him and just open up your ears on what he's saying. But Ed confirmed today with that barring injury on some of these, Major Burns and Jay Ward will be your starting safeties. Let's get to a couple of these comments. Brian says, yeah, we'll do the Roody Poos at the end. Darren says, welcome back, Blake. So does Florence. And Patton says, Blake, we got to talk a little baseball. Jay and the guys are killing it in recruiting. Again, something we've talked about. Jay Johnson is going to bring a football mentality into recruiting, into LSU baseball. It's something that, here's what I want to say. I got a lot of pushback and a lot of criticism about, I don't want to say bashing Nolan Cain, but just, in my opinion, telling it like it was. Now you understand what recruiting looks like at LSU when you're out there doing it. And you had to have a cohesive unit that's out there recruiting. Jay Johnson's also getting I've talked to a couple baseball coaches here locally. He's making a good connections with a lot of local baseball coaches. That's huge in recruiting. Aaron, I see your Roody Poo of the week. We'll get to that at the end of the show. Nookie says all the Yahoo Sports gang are Roody Poo. Yeah. I mean, Pete Thamel, guys, I mean, come on. I mean, and then, so let me say this, and I did not go out and talk to him before the show like he's requested, so I'm just going to leave it here at the moment. Don't, like, so, I go on vacation for a week, and the Roody Poo shit just keeps happening, right? Like, it just keeps happening. There are ways you can use words to manipulate them, and when Ed said, look, right now I'm not making a comment on the Title IX stuff. Guys, he's being sued. He's not going to make a comment. You have individuals that are not from here and can give two shits about LSU. Guys, they don't care. I mean, I feel like because a lot of these guys aren't on the air or aren't doing interviews and stuff like that, that people just believe that I'm making this up. Did you hear them today in the SEC media days? And did you not see them on Twitter manipulating Ed's words? So from a national perspective, if you're not watching SEC media days, you don't understand what Ed's really said or what he really talked about. We had the thing for me, as I reflected all last week, the thing for me that I wanted to focus more on, and what we will focus more on, is we're going to talk more about football. The Roody Poo-ness, when it needs to be addressed, we will address it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't stop. The one thing that I thought that coming back I would be able to do is say, let's just let the Roody Poo shit go for a while and let's talk some LSU. But we can't. Stop manipulating words, because we have 207 people watching us live right now, and thousands of others that will listen to us from the podcast and rewatches and all that stuff. Our platform is just as big as yours, dog. So stop using the Roody Poo stuff about Ed Orgeron. Let it play out. We're back. Keith says, ask Blake, is Mike Jones going to be a safety? So Ed Orgeron, if you miss it, Ed Orgeron talked about two guys defensively. One, we've talked about Major Burns, who will be on the opposite side of Jay Ward. Mike Jones was the other guy that Ed Orgeron said he's really, really, really looking forward. Who? Mike Jones, who he's really looking forward to in this defense. Guys, again, go look down big boards for the NFL draft. Mike Jones is a guy that some people project because he can play nickel safety, because he can play nickel linebacker, because he can play in the inside, and something that he wants to prove. Mike Jones wants to prove that he can play linebacker, inside linebacker, middle linebacker, and go into the next level. Guys, a lot like Jabril Cox did. A guy that if you absolutely needed him to, a guy that we've seen. Here's a crazy thing about Mike Jones and how Clemson let him go. I have no idea. We have film and we have seen Mike Jones line up in the slot as a linebacker running with receivers at 230 pounds. If that's not Isaiah Simmons-ish, who's also at Clemson, I don't know what to that's LaRon Landry-ish. But in today's game, when you have a guy that can play safety but has a body that can play. Guys, we remember Isaiah Simmons. Let's talk about a little bit about the type of guys that Brent Venables recruits. He gets guys like Isaiah Simmons. He gets guys like Mike Jones, guys that can play. Isaiah Simmons played in the box the entire LSU game in 2000. Well, it's technically in 2020, but in the 2019 national title game. Mike Jones is the. I don't mean this in a wrong way. He's everything that Jacoby Stevens should have been. He's everything that LSU wanted Jacoby Stevens to be. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but he is. He will not play safety. Kevin, I said Keith, sorry. Kevin, he will not play safety. He might have some instances where it looks like he's playing safety, but his premier position will be in that linebacker spot. Stefan says, looking like you're about to call a big third and goal on the 4th down and 5 with a fresh shirt on and the hat combo. If you're talking about that, yeah, I mean, look, man, I got to give it up to Coach Tajon, bro. Both Coach Tajons hooking me up with some Franklinton merch, baby. You know, look, you're going to hit me up with some merch. I don't wear the LSU merch as much. I do during the post-game shows, if you guys remember those. That we'll get, which I'm really looking forward to. But yeah, you're gonna hit me with the fresh merch. We're gonna push it, baby. Blake Doucette says Austin gonna break the most games played by an LSU player. That shows dedication. Yeah, that's something interesting. Ed talked about today. Look, I've said this multiple times during this offseason. There's nothing that Austin Deculus has not seen in college football. There's no elaborate schemes or blitzes or what a defensive end going to line up at the 5 technique. Is he going to be outside? Is he going to shade in? Is he going to pinch? Is he going to go? Is he going to loop? Is he going to try to contain? There's absolutely nothing that Austin Deculus hasn't seen. That helps out Chasen Hines, who has experience. That helps out Liam Shanahan, who has experience. That helps out and hypothetically, look, let's just say that you have some shuffling on the O-line. That helps a younger guy like Anthony Bradford, who has all the talent in the world, but if he doesn't know what's coming, and Austin, guys, I'm telling you, the one thing in all of football, DBs is one of them that you can't, that absolutely needs communication. I would make the argument, absolutely make the argument outside of quarterback, so let's throw him out of there. O-line is the number one thing that you have to have communication and experience, because if there's something you haven't seen, and especially something you haven't seen on film, it can really hurt you. They're going to have that with Austin Deculus. I like the vocalness of Austin Deculus. Guys, I'm telling you, I have this feeling inside my bones. I don't know the rest of the Justin Timberlake song there. But I have this – look – and even Ed was asked about the Mississippi State game. It's going to be a bloodbath. I'm telling you that coaches inside that staff, I am promising you this, coaches and players inside that staff, they say that they're not pissed off. That's a lie. You can feel the energy. You can feel the momentum. Don't be surprised if you look up at the end of the season and LSU's 11-1. I'm telling you now. And also don't be surprised if we look up at the end of the season, LSU's 9-3. Let's call it what it is. I saw our good friend C. King. Yeah, there he is. C. King from Talking Tiger Sports Facebook group says Coach O knows what he has, and I like it. That is one thing. You know, C brings up an interesting point here. he does know. It feels like Ed does have a better understanding of his team than he did all of last year. Like, and that's not even close. Ed wasn't stuttering. Ed wasn't mumbling. He was, when's the last time you heard it? And I don't mean this in a negative way. When's the last time you've heard Ed Orgeron press conference when he's not mumbling and bumbling? It was 2019. Like a locked-in Ed Orgeron is what you saw today. You didn't. This isn't meaning anything to T-Bob and Jacob, and because I like their show. They do a great job at Off the Bench. You're not getting what you got today on the radio. You're not getting that on a podcast. The Ed Orgeron you saw today was focused. The Ed Orgeron you saw today didn't misspeak or didn't misquote. He knew guys' names off the top. They asked him a question, boom, he was ready to go. Something interesting, too, that Ed talked about was the running back position. He feels something. And something else that we've had a lot of discussion about is the simple fact of what does Jake Peets want to do? And look, I'm telling you right now, LSU is going to get back to running the RPOs, and they want to run the football. They want to pound the rock. You can say what LSU did in 2019. I get it with Joe Burrow. They ran the ball effectively. Alabama did that last year in 2020. They ran – guys, Najee Harris had over 350 carries. And then the season before that, we remember Clemson and Trevor Etienne and all the carries and all the greatness that he had. Great teams and great offensive teams find ways to run the football effectively. It never changes. Yeah, you might have 45 passing attempts and you might have 37 runs, but I guarantee you those 37 runs, at the end of the game, if you're scoring 40, 50 points, you dominated in the running game, period. There's no questions about that. Carl the Cat Dunn says, welcome back, Blake. We appreciate that. I just got a message from a friend talking about some of the Roody Poo-ness. And it was funny. I got to admit, that was funny. Call the cat. What's happening? Devin Stives says hustle, loyalty, and respect. Yeah, I felt a lot of. If you didn't see the clip, John Cena came back to the WWE last night. You can't see me. I felt that way today coming back to AYS. I had that feeling. Dakota says, why did they keep asking about Texas A&M rivals? Look, Texas A&M is going to get a lot of publicity. Texas A&M is going to get a lot of hype. Guys, it's a Texas team with a lot of money. Okay? And regardless of – look, it doesn't matter if A&M's trash water, dookie water, Roody Poo-ness, it doesn't matter. They're going to try to find a way to get A&M into the mix in all of this because of the big base that that A&M has. A&M has more question marks than I believe any team, well, maybe outside of Alabama. The interesting stat today was, I brought this stat up a couple weeks ago, but I didn't bring the percentage like SEC Network did today. 82% of LSU's offensive production returns. That's without Chris Curry. That's without TJ Finley, who started 5 games at quarterback of all things. That's Eric Gilbert. That's Terrence Marshall. All these guys that left either midseason, transferred, regardless of what it was, you still have 82% of your roster coming back. 18 starters are technically it's 20, but however you want to slice it, 20 starters, I'm going to name them starters, but 20 starters returning. 20 of 22 starters returning. Alabama is the dead last in the SEC at 30%. Returning offense, or 28, or no, it wasn't 30%, it was 22% of Alabama's offensive production is returning. Guys, 22% from last season. Experience matters. And I think that's what LSU is going to thrive on this year. I was going to wait to the Roody Poos at the end, but I'm going to get to this one. Our good friend J-Boy, Jake Crane, great guy. I was in the studio. You might have saw the video about the Texas Longhorn thing that we did. It was pretty funny. I actually got like 45,000 views on Twitter. But his Twitter account got hacked. So I want all you guys to go over to Twitter. It's at J-Boy. Type it in. Go follow their new account. yeah, that sucks. That sucks, man. Go follow him. He was with Ed Orgeron today. Great follow. Got some massive things coming from J-Boy. So yeah, go follow him. Blaine Smith says, think Flott and Harris are out. Look, I don't disagree. I don't know how much Cardell Flott's going to play, guys. I just don't. Dwight McGlothern, Elias Ricks, Derek Stingley. What do you do with Mike Jones? Can you put him in a slot? Yes, Sage Ryan. Look, I'm hearing some things over last couple weeks about Sage Ryan. You got Major Burns, Jay Ward, guys. Again, if you can't cover and you struggle, you're not going to play. Durante Jones will not put you in there. Just calling it like it is. And look, I think I don't know how much Cardell is going to play. I think that he can have a big off season, and I hope he makes me eat my words along with Ty Harris. Guys, I always want upperclassmen that have dedicated to play, but when you have a guy that is better at a position, you have to play that individual. Like we saw what Jay Ward's done at safety. Todd Harris or Jay Ward right now, and you guys know how high I am on him. Josh Rogers, a Buckeye, says, Blake, how in the hell are you doing? Been a minute since I've checked in. Well, we've been out. So there's that. Amanda says, are you still hearing rumblings of Johnson separating himself from the team? I know you've covered that on your show before. Yeah, and we actually talked a little bit about that tonight. I still think Max is separating himself, and I don't really think about that. Something that I've been hearing from people on that staff, from a couple of players who have involuntarily have told me that. A player last week on vacation, we were checking in, we were chatting, we were just talking. And in that phone conversation, he tells me that, look, Miles is really working his ass off, but it's just from a locker room. It's a lot like when Joe Burrow came in. The locker room started to drive towards and push towards anything Joe Burrow said at the end of 18 and 19 was going to happen. Hey, let's go catch some balls. Let's go catch some balls. Let's catch 10,000 balls. They're going to do it. That same feel is building around Max Johnson. I do believe the most underrated player in the SEC. And I don't mean this because I cover LSU. If it wasn't him, I'd tell you. I do believe the most underrated player in the entire SEC is Max Johnson. I don't understand from an LSU perspective, and I get it because of Miles. And from a national perspective, they saw what Max did the last two games, but they want to see more. What more do you have to see? I mean, do you have to see him leading the team to 80-plus points in 2 weeks? Like, guys, at some point, the eye test is going to tell you stuff. Jalen Hurts, when he took over, Tua Tagovailoa, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, you don't have to see too hell of a lot of much to know that this guy has the it factor. He has the it factor. Not saying that Miles doesn't, but he's going to have to, he's going to have to unlock that. He's going to have to find the keys to unlock that it factor because the perception of Miles is that we all feel that he has that it factor. It might just be locked down somewhere. Guys, Miles has a lot of athletic ability. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to focus, get his mind right, and let's go. Like, some things that fans have emphasized to me is that when Miles was, during their little break, Miles was on a boat, hanging out with some friends. There's nothing wrong with that. You're on break. And during that whole time, Max Johnson is with his dad going through reads and going through drills and working out. You tell me as a player how much that would hit you. I know how it hit me. So one guy goes home and is doing nothing but football. The other guy's on a boat. That doesn't sit well with teammates, man. I'm just telling you, it doesn't sit well in that locker room. Mark says, J-Boy News and quotes. Yeah, and they changed it. Hold on, let me find it. The J-Boy Show alternate is where you can find them, at J-Boy Notes on Twitter. Yeah, and I'm hoping. I'm really, really hoping they're able to get their account back. Man, there's nothing more devastating. I've had it happen to me. There's nothing more devastating, guys, because we build this from the ground up. We're not backed by ESPN and all these Roody Poos, and we're just not. Ryan Thibodeau says DMG in the nickel, Dwight McGlothern in the nickel. We'll see. I think he's a better guy. I think they're going to find interesting ways to get that guy on the field. But I really appreciate Ryan for sending us the super chat. We're going to work on it. We're working on some things. Jacob Samuelson says he's ass. Who's ass? All right, go ahead, guys. Start putting in your Roody Poos of the week. You can go ahead because we're going to take a quick break in a second. Get your Roody Poos in the week and put them in there. We'll fly through it. C. King says he heard that Chris Hilton will make some noise early. I can agree with that. Look, I love Trey Palmer to death. I love Coy Moore to death. You better get your mind right, dog. You better Malik Neighbors too. Just listen to me. Malik Neighbors too. You better get your mind right now. Ed talked about today that he feels like Mason Smith has been on LSU's roster and team for 2 years. He hadn't been there 6 months, but the way that he's out in front of everything. One guy told me about three months ago, I think it was, that they showed up to work out, and he got there a little early to unlock, to do some things. Mason Smith was the first individual there. He was 45 minutes early. They asked Mason what he's doing, and he goes, "I'm just getting ready to go." You got to have that type of leadership, man. You got to have that type of leadership. There's going to be freshmen that play there. LSU is going to rotate a lot of guys in and out. You want to have we don't remember this because LSU offensively didn't rotate guys in and out a lot. They did a lot defensively, and something was Dave Aranda's calling card. I mean, we remember Braden Fehoko and all those guys rotating in and out on the D-line. You had Damone Clark, Patrick Queen, Jacob Phillips. Those guys would rotate early. Patrick Queen kind of took that over there in the middle to late part of the season, first-round pick. And look, Cardell Flott was the guy that played on the outside. Something interesting. I think that Cardell Flott, the way that kid's going to see time, he was electric playing on the outside. Do they find a way to get Cardell Flott back in the out of the slot? Guys, I think he led the SEC. I need to go find this, but PFF, I remember, and I know that you guys are going to correct me here, but PFF had a stat about Cardell Flott when he played on the outside that I think he only allowed like 22%, 24% completion percentage when he played on the outside. Slot's just a different beast. Playing the slot is just a different beast. So I wonder if they'll incorporate him there. All right, let's do this. I'm going to get to the rest of your comments. We'll end the show by going through your comments. Let's do this. Let's get to a quick break, and then we'll come right back to get to every one of your comments, and then we'll get to Roody Poo of the week. Guys, we got to talk about our good sponsor, John Patton over at GMFS Mortgage, and our good friends over at the Edwards Drake Edwards Law Firm. I had somebody call me today, needed succession, needed real estate. Drake Edwards Law Firm really helped them out. So, guys, go over to GMFS Mortgage, save money with John Patton. $200, $300, $400 a month can save you a lot of money, and I know that you guys need it, and I need it. Everybody needs it. Get over to GMFS today. Guys, you're thinking about buying a new home, saving money on the mortgage that you have now, or even doing that cash out refi. The timing has never been better. Get in touch with John Patton from GMFS Mortgage today at 225-614-1234. That's 225-614-1234. And tell him Blake Ruffino sent you on by, and he will put you up on the top of the line. If you like saving money, GMFS, they're always doing it, and so is John Patton. GMFS, they're changing lives, and our good friends over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Guys, DWI, successions, real estate, whatever you need and you can think of possible, you need to call Drake Williams Law Firm today. 985-386-7600. That's 985-386-7600. Tell me your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by. All right, let's get going. Let's see. Somebody just sent us $9.99 on the super chat. Mark says, send us $9.99. I appreciate that, my good friend. Thank you very much. He says, how about Jay, Big Stick, Johnson, and recruiting? Guys, a big feel. a very big feel from Jay Johnson. Again, a guy that grew up in a football household, is taking football recruiting and the atmosphere that he was. And Jay's dad was a fantastic, had great athletes, was a great football coach. He's been around that and seeing college coaches recruit, been in itself. I'm telling you, he's going to bring studs. Guys, I don't know if LSU doesn't get to Omaha. And to kind of Mark's point, he's bringing in the big sticks. I don't know if LSU doesn't get to Omaha. They're definitely going to be pushing for it. That's for damn sure. All right, let's see here. Blaine Smith says Max is only going to get better. No question about that. Jeremy on Facebook Live says, you don't think the quarterback battle causes tension in the locker room between players wanting a certain quarterback or leader? I think it can if you don't pick the right one, right? So, if you have a team that's leaning behind one guy, and I think Ed learned this early, but sometimes you can't help that. A lot of guys in 2018 wanted Justin McMillan as their starting quarterback. Joe Burrow comes in, kind of rough and iffy in the start, but he didn't even know some of the wide receivers' names. Over time, he built that. That's different with Max. I think that it can if you don't pick the one that's leading the locker room, right? Like, these guys know what Max is about. Again, I told you a story what happened last week on vacation. Kid called me, answered the phone. He tells me that, look, we just started chit-chatting. And look, I'm not the guy that's always asking about info. I just want to chat with the guys. And he said, and he brought up about Max Johnson working out in Georgia with his dad, because I told him we were going to Atlanta to see my brothers and sisters. And he brought it up, and I'm like, yeah, I saw it. So if he's asking me if I saw it, come on now. Mario on YouTube says, I don't see Flock getting a lot of playing time. I'd be really interested to see what happens with Cardell Flott, getting out of the slot and going outside, because he was so dynamic on the outside. Guys, we remember when he was with Henry Ruggs. I think it was 5 passing attempts that came his way against Alabama. One a completion to Henry Ruggs, I think it was on the outside, or was it Jerry Jeudy? I can't remember, on a quick slant, but he tackled right behind that. I would be really interested to see what he can do back in a position he was really good at. But that means that you're going to have to move Elias Ricks. That means you'd have to move a Derek Stingley. If that's the case, then he's not going to see the playing time unless they're just rotating guys in and out there. Robert Plaisant says, you saw Chad Kai got hired to South Carolina. I did. He's excited. He's, says he's going to recruit Louisiana heavy, but we'll see. Jay Johnson's also going to recruit Louisiana heavy more than what Paul Maneri did. Mayhem Santana. I like that name. Mayhem Santana. I don't think it's Max. I think it's Miles. What it's not, look, and that's the thing about some fans. I mean, I want to know the backing and the logic behind starting Miles. So I'm not going to get as animated as I usually do, because you hire Jake Peets and the offense that he wants to run fits one style of quarterback. You hired an offensive scheme. Ed talked about he wants a guy that can be mobile. So I mean, that ain't Max. I mean, that ain't Miles. I mean, I'm not gonna say that because that kid's probably faster than I am. I'd love to race him. Chelsea says, what do you think of Sankey's comments? Yeah, let's get to that. Chelsea brings up a good question. I wanted to talk about that too. I'm not sure if you guys heard, but Greg Sankey talked about there will be no reschedules. There'll be no makeup games if for COVID-19, if a team tests positive for COVID, sorry about you, but they're not gonna make teams forfeit. It's interesting because now that just means you have an entire season. No team is gonna, they talked about roster management is done away with. You better be able to play. So I think that's huge, and I think that you're going to see a lot of conferences do that. You're going to see probably the Big 12 do that. I don't think that they announced that, but I was on vacation, not really listening other than the horns down bullshit, which let me clarify some things to some Longhorn fans. You refused to not reschedule LSU is the point that I was making. Well, Blake, we're trying to play Alabama in 22 and 23. I understand that. I'm using that as an example. Go right after that. Oh, so you're not okay with playing two SEC teams? So, the softest shit ever is, we'd have to play LSU and Alabama in the same season. And welcome to the SEC West. Auburn fans laugh at you. A&M fans, everybody talks about A&M. The one thing I'll agree with A&M is if you're an A&M fan, you should be laughing your ass off behind this Texas thing because, we don't want to play LSU. And we don't want to play LSU and Alabama in the same season. Welcome to the SEC West. Stop. This is how you know Texas isn't back. When your fan base is a nothing but pansy, no good, not wanting to do anything. We're going to stop being soft. God, softest fan base. But I thought Greg Sankey's telling you we're playing an entire season whether you like it or not. Henry says boats and throws. Yeah. Boats and throws. But it should mean something more than that. Kenny Russell, I missed a couple of your comments. Let me get to a couple. I'm sorry, Kenny. Where's the Kenny Russell comment? There it is. He says, Kenny Russell says on Facebook Live, Coy Moore just doesn't have the foot speed to play in the slot, in my opinion, and Palmer can't catch the ball consistently. All I'm going to say is if Trey Palmer can work out some of those issues, it is ball game. It is ball game. I think Trey's going to be all right. Look, guys, one person told me, I know we talked about that 2 weeks ago, about one wide receiver has like 8,200 catches. The other one has like 7,900. They're working their asses off. Brandon Reese says he hopes that Mason Smith starts right away. He's not going to be starting right away. Y'all get y'all's Rudy Poos of the week in here. Y'all get y'all Rudy Poo in the week in here. Brandon Reese puts one. He says, Rudy Poo of the week, Texas crying about horns down. Horns should be penalized too. Yeah, look, they're soft. It's just such a soft way to go about things. Here's another misconception about this whole Texas thing too. If you think that Texas boosters and Texas himself didn't go to the Big 12 saying, oh my God, oh no, oh my God, we don't want the horns down. The Big 12 didn't make this up by themselves, right? Like the Big 12 didn't just come out one day out of the ether and says, you can't do the horns down. Texas is pushing this. Look, we can say Oklahoma is what Oklahoma is. The biggest fan base, the biggest school from a prestige standpoint in the Big 12 is Texas. They're going to align with everything that they say. This and this both should be penalized. If you're listening on the podcast, that's the horns up and the horns down. Soft, as Stefan says here, as Charmin tissue paper. And Devin says, SOWFT, soft. I agree with that. Lyle Johnson says, hashtag Rudy Poo of the week is Greg McElroy. Yeah, and Lyle Johnson says the same Rudy Poo of the week being to Greg McElroy. I really didn't, I kind of just thought that Greg, I thought he was kind of, I don't know, non-biased a little, but today, man, good Lord. Nookie says Rudy Poo of the week to the ESPN FPI, giving LSU a 2% chance to win the West. I saw that. What a damn this joke. Derek says everybody outside Louisiana sleeping on LSU. Can't wait to laugh at him. Me too. And Nookie says Coach O did a great job with the answer of the Bo Pelini. Yeah, and look, that should shut guys up like Moscona. Right? Like, come on. Blaine Smith says, give me your starting offensive line for LSU. Right now, it's going to be the exact same outside of Cam Wire being your left tackle for now, or can Doomerville go over there? Left guard, Ed Ingram, Shanahan at center, Hines and or Anthony Bradford, and obviously Austin Deculus. That's my 5. That's my 5. Let's see. Let's get to a couple more of these Roody Poos of the week. Kenny Russell says Alabama, Florida, and A&M are the only ones. Talking about what, Kenny? Let's see here. What else we got on Roody Poos of the week? Chelsea Roberts on Periscope says Roody Poo to Mullen whining about the permanent SEC West opponents. All right, I'm going to go in the minority on this one. So, and I get what LSU fans are saying, right? And about Dan talking about the permanent, the permanent thing. Here's the way I took that. And because in the context of the question he was asked, an Alabama reporter asked Dan Mullen, hey, it's been 10 years since you played Alabama in the regular season. What do you think about that? Or Florida has played, not Dan Mullen, but Florida has played Alabama in the regular season. I do understand what he's talking about, right? Meaning, because LSU has the same issue. So let me throw this out. LSU has not played the University of Kentucky. The University of Kentucky since 2007 in a regular season, right? I think that's right. Yeah, 2007, right? No, it can't be that long. Is it that long? Because Kentucky hasn't come to Baton Rouge, and LSU has not gone to the Bluegrass. Guys, it might be that long since LSU has played Kentucky. When you do have a permanent cross-division opponent, I do understand that, right? Like, it's taken what, and somebody correct me because I didn't look this up. Because I'm thinking, I don't think LSU has played Kentucky. I think it's been 2007. So with all of that being said, I understand what he's saying, right? Like, that's a bit tough. I mean, you go that long and not play, and I kind of agree with Dan on this. Like, hey, man, we want to go into the state of Alabama. We want to go into the state of Texas. Guys, they're not, I mean, outside of last year, I get what he's trying to say, but that's a COVID year. That doesn't happen every year. I get what it sounded like, right? Like, I get what it sounded like, but it did sound a little soft. So I'm kind of split on the Dan Mullen thing, right? Like, I'm a little split. Let's see here. Ryan Thibodeau says LMAO at Blake sound like Kevin Hart. No, God, oh God, please no. I watched that this. It was on TV or YouTube or Netflix or something. And I watched it, dude. Kevin Hart, that shit's so funny. C King says hashtag Matt Moscone is Roody Poo of the week for interviewing 2 Florida players in the South Carolina dude. We don't want to hear from them. Yeah, that's a little bit rough. Cole Adams says if Max takes the reins, he will have beat out an elite SEC quarterback. Let the games begin. So I'm going to say this, Cole, and I disagree here, right? Like, Max Johnson, Miles Brennan's not an elite SEC quarterback. We need to be more careful on what we talk about when we say the word elite. Here's the elite quarterbacks that we've seen in the past. Cam Newton in college was elite. Dak Prescott is last year, whether you like it or not, elite. Johnny Manziel, elite. Tim Tebow, elite. Kyler Murray, elite. Patrick Mahomes really wasn't elite. I mean, he did some good things at Texas Tech. He wasn't elite. Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, whether you like Trevor Lawrence or not. Vince Young, Matt Leonard. Those are elite quarterbacks. Miles Brennan, with all due respect, Max Johnson included, has absolutely no bearings, nor does he have anything to back on. Guys, give me reasons why you believe that Miles Brennan is an elite quarterback. I mean, when you say the word elite, like, that's the whole thing about all this. Like, sometimes we just use these words, and I'm not getting this on Cole about this, but we use these words and say things that, do we really mean them? right? Like, do we really mean the word elite here? All right, a couple more. We're going to get on out of here. 52 minutes. Actually, we might go a little extended. I see a lot of Roody Poo's the week from Matt Moscona. I understand it. There we go. Chris Barnhill says LSU played them in 2014 or 15. Let's see this. LSU football versus Kentucky history. Let's see. When was the last time they played? Actually, right, 2014. That's the 41-3 game. So 2000 and no, it was 2011 too. They played. Still going a pretty good amount of time. Yep. So it was 14. So I was wrong there. Good call. See, I didn't remember that. I did not remember that. Oh yeah, we did play him in 11. See something that. So when people let me shed a little light behind the scenes curtain here. When you don't research stuff, like this is how prepared I get before the show. When I don't research something, you will hear the following words. Guys, bean check me because I did not research it. It's one thing. 41-3. Yep, there we go. I remember that 11 game. Actually, I don't really. Only thing I remember about that 2011 game is when Tyrann Mathieu, the strip fumble touchdown. So, see, I got to prepare myself. Jacob Samuelson says Miles Brennan is not elite SEC quarterback. Burrow is elite. Correct. I mean, come on, man. Like, Max Johnson isn't elite right now. Like, I mean, come on, man. We use that word a little too much. Josh, I saw Josh Blount says Price or Emery. I think Price is going to get the first snap. I mean, and when I say that, I guess it's really depending on what the first play in the formation is. Do these running backs get out of camp healthy? Does the O-line get out healthy? Guys, one thing that was successful about 19 is this. They stayed very healthy. So there we go. Yeah, see, 2014. I forgot about that game. I forgot about the blowout. One game that, what's funny about that is one game that Les Miles scored 41 and played above his the team played above their head, like not down to the level of opponent. Daniel says, I think it's Miles because Coach O would have told him to look around at this point. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean, look, O wants competition. A lot of people, I'm going to say this. I might have to clip this. So we're at the 56-minute mark. Look, I'm going to say this. A lot of fans and a lot of people believe that LSU or Coach O owes Miles Brennan something. Guys, there's a reason Joe Burrow came in here. Yeah, Ed saw the talent. Ed saw everything to bring him in here in 2018. We remember what happened in 18. We definitely remember what happened in 19. Miles Brennan has had his chances. He's had the entire 2020 season. I get the COVID stuff. He still was a starter, got hurt. I know the 2018 stuff. He got beat out by Burrow. He still got hurt in that season. Joe Burrow with the injuries in the Alabama game. You only have one scholarship quarterback that can go out there. There's a lot of stuff that we have not seen from Miles Brennan. A lot of stuff. Ed has given Miles Brennan all the opportunities to be the starter. If he wins this quarterback race, if he wins it, that's one thing. But kids in that locker room are saying that, look, it's Max is their guy. That's not me saying that. It's individuals I talk to. So what does LSU or Ed Orgeron owe to Miles Brennan? Well, Blake, he stayed. Well, shit, guys, he's had 5 seasons. Ed doesn't owe him anything. I hate to say it like that. But when you get chance after chance after chance after chance after chance, and you're not the starter, who is it? He couldn't beat out Danny Etling. Remember, everybody trashed Danny Etling, Joe Burrow, and now it looks like it's going to be Max Johnson. That's 3 quarterbacks that you couldn't. That this kid couldn't beat out right now. So what do you owe him? Let the kid go in there. Let the kid compete. Southern Miss, Tulane, Baylor, whoever in the root. And look, Brennan has 2 seasons, and LSU is playing their cards right. Do you really think that Miles Brennan's going to transfer when he's got Raising Cane's sponsoring him? Just because Raising Cane's is sponsoring Miles Brennan doesn't mean anything either about him starting. Doesn't mean 2 Roody Poos. It can mean for depth too. You have 2 quarterbacks that can win you football games. The biggest lie in all of sports, in my opinion, is you can't lose your job after you got injured. Meaning a kid got injured, a guy came in, played really well, and then you got to give the other guy who was good the opportunity. That's not true. If a guy gets hurt and a good prospect comes up and starts dealing, somebody's going to lose their job. Somebody's going to lose their job. I'll give a case and example from a college football realm. Ohio State, Cardell Jones. Injuries don't mean a Roody Poo when a guy comes in and performs the way that they can perform and they do elite stuff. Just telling you. Change my mind. You know, the was it Steven Crowder? Isn't that the guy who's, not going into politics, but that guy, so we'll see. Ryan Thibodeau says, sends us $2 and says, could Coy motion out of the backfield? That he could. You remember Alex Adams did that on the touchdown drive by Max Johnson in the spring game. Brian sends us $4.99 on Super Chats on YouTube. Appreciate that. He said, did you see the catcher Double J talked into coming to LSU from Live Oak? Yeah, I saw that. A lot of people like him too. I like him too. And something I didn't even talk about because we just had so much with media days is Travis talks about big commitment from Citizen, the running back out of the west side of the state. Yep, big time commitment. Going to talk about a little bit more recruiting tomorrow because we just had so much we had to get into today. C. King says a certain segment of the LSU fan base loves Miles Brennan because he fits the narrative of what they think an LSU quarterback should look like. It's true. It's funny that the molds and the things that Ed's changed around here. It's crazy to me what people – and I think C hits the nail on the hammer on the nail here in reference to what's actually going on. Guys, we don't owe this man anything. Not one Roody Poo thing. 2 more. We're getting out of here. Jamie says Miles is about to get Wally pipped. Could. Or, look, he could come out here and he could deal. Jacob says, old dude hit 429 and had more triples than doubles this season. That absolutely nasty as a catcher. Yeah, and you know what it is, too? He has more hits than Alex Milazzo. Period. Guys, it has been fantastic being back. I'm hoping to have some big news before football season. So be on the lookout for that. We are doing some good things. It was more than just a vacation. So we'll leave it there. But until then and until tomorrow, we're going to be guesting back up. We haven't been guesting in a while just from our own reasons, but we'll be bringing some guests back in. Sean Merriman, the former NFL player, is going to be joining us Wednesday. We'll get some more guests in here. Definitely get some more guests. But until then, guys, we will see y'all soon. Y'all have a good night. Peace out. What did I say? What do I say about Girl Scouts at the end? See, you're going for a week and you forget. Peace out, Girl Scouts.